Okay, this video is about how to make a banner ad basically profitable every time that you make it, or for your Google display campaigns, or could be another campaign that you're running on any other banner ad type network. Okay, so anyway, with that said, I'm going to go through what it is that I actually use to make my ads, to make them profitable basically every time. What's the actual repeatable process that I have for that, and then I'm going to give you some different examples of different winning banner ad campaigns that we put together in terms of the headlines and all of that. And I'm going to give you a little bit more information about who should be actually using banner ad campaigns and who shouldn't, so you know whether or not to jump into it and if it's going to be worth your time or not, given a lot of people who run display advertising campaigns, they usually can't get them to work. But with that said, of the people who try to get them to work, when they don't work, it's generally because the ad wasn't set up right, which what we're going to go over today, and how to actually give you that information you need to get it set up right every time. And then of course the targeting is not set up right, and to where people are targeting too wide, and the targeting is not set so that it actually gets down to the few thousand, tens of thousands of people who actually are right for the product or service. So they aren't wasting money advertising to people that, no matter how good the ad is, won't buy, and don't give a crap anyway. So ultimately, you got to have both of those on point. But the bigger thing is that we're covering today is the ads. And so I'll tell you a little bit about the targeting side as well as I go through these different examples, given much of the messaging that you come up with is going to be tied to the targeting, in that if you're targeting people who need a specific product for a specific time of the year, then you say that that product is sold for that time of the year, or if you're offering a limited time offer, it's that product sold for that specific amount of time. I'll get into the specifics on how that works here in a minute. So anyway, with that said, we'll get into the content. There are a few things that I have picked up in terms of figuring out how to make these banner ads work every time, having made hundreds and hundreds of these banner ads before. Namely, I have to update this because written it incorrect before. Namely, there are three basic strategies that work better than everything else in terms of making a banner ad that's going to work, whether you're running on Google Display Network or what have you. And this is out of just trying it every which way or whatnot. The first way of which if you follow one of these three methods, you're basically as per what the title says, you're going to have success with it every time. You just got to figure out which of the three that's going to work the best for you. And the first of which, though, if you sell a product, this one's on the table. If you don't, then it's not. Pictures that show an interesting product or service that sells itself should be featured in your ad. So what I mean by that is basically, if you sell a product, and just by looking at that product, it basically sells itself. You could tell by looking at that product it's interesting or not, that if there's no words or anybody selling the product, that people would want it as is. And if that's your product, you should just lead with that. Lead with the photo. Not to say that would be the only thing you have on your ad, but that should be basically what you're leaning with. And most of the ad, as I'm going to talk about here in a second, basically would be dedicated to that exact product itself. So, and I screwed up the order on this as well, to where your 2/3 of your, if that is you, where your product could do all the selling itself, so to say, it's a new edgy product people perhaps haven't seen before, half of that ad at least, and half is a good probably ratio usually for most of you guys to go with, is going to be dedicated to that product. Beyond that, you of course need to usually have your logo on the ad. It's because you're going to show this ad to people more than once. And normally because of the power of sevens in marketing, people normally need to see the ad multiple times to take it seriously. That goes with any marketing pitch that you do, or any other advertising that you do. So you show that ad. And with banner ads, it's so cheap to show your banner ad to somebody. It's literally a penny to have a banner ad show up for somebody one time, that ultimately it'll be shown 50 times to the same person or upwards of 50 times to get the attention that you want with it. And then if you keep your logo with the product, it really brands the product, so to say, and it gives the best, you wouldn't just put the product there itself. Ultimately, beyond that, the other little bit of information I would offer next to the product image itself would be like the price of the product, as long as it's not like an astronomical amount of money. And then the details. What's some interesting tidbits that you can give about that product that's going to really take things to the next level. Given what the issues with like supply chain issues with COVID and all that recently, if your product can be delivered on time, that would be something I would mention on the ad next to the product image. Refund, i.e. refund if delivered late. Implying that you'll offer them a refund if it's not delivered within the amount of time that it's expected, or refund if not delivered within 3 days would be one way. Why? Because that makes the product stand out a little bit more than what just the product image by itself would be able to deliver. If you had a really interesting refrigerator that you were selling that's totally new and has a new design, you could lead with that product image on this ad and then say, refund if not delivered within 3 days, indicating that, unlike other refrigerators that have, if in your market that your competitors are shipping late, that would be what I would lead with. I'd figure out basically what's different about what we have in terms of what we're offering to also mention on that ad. But that's technically optional, but generally I wouldn't just have the product image on the ad. So anyway, in terms of the 3 things you can do that are going to make it work every time, that's the main thing you would do for the first one. The second one, you want super short, snappy phrases that explain the results that you have. So this is for you guys that don't have a product, therefore you can't go with the product image. And so what I mean by short, snappy phrases is, this is going to be like if you had a package theft prevention device. You would say, "Stop package theft," and that would be your main headline you put in the ad. So to give you an example of this one here, so this is on your ad, you're going to have 2/3 of the ad dedicated to the text headline itself. So if we're offering the device that allows you to stop package thefts, you're just going to, and you want to, 5 words or less, craft what the results that you can offer for that customer. In this case, stop package theft. Put that in 2/3 of the ad. Then for the rest of the ad, you can have a little image that ties to that core message, which if it's a locking mailbox, we have a little picture of the locking mailbox, and then the logo on the ad still, because the logo is generally always on the ad. You kind of always have to have the logo on there, otherwise you're going to have a clickbait warning that you're going to get from Google, and your ad's going to get disapproved. You got to have the logo and or the URL on the ad anyway. But if the product image, if the product itself is not that self-explanatory or not that eye-catching, that's where you're going to lead. Even if you sell a product with a 2 to 5 word phrase that explains what is it that the product's going to do for the customer. And of course, if you have a service, you have that same 2 to 5 word phrase there, but you can have an image. It doesn't have to be a product image, but another image that supports the headline. So I actually made this mistake a long time ago in making these ads. I figured out, so with remarketing ads that show up for somebody who's been to your site already, it's okay to do some different stuff and offer specifically more information, bullet points, that kind of thing. But as you're trying to market to new people, you're doing prospecting, people have never heard or seen of you before, you're trying to have your banner ad get people to the site. All you're trying to do is lead with one very simple message and really drill down to what's the core thing you're selling in terms of the actual results, not the product, but what the product does or what the service does. Make that the main part of the ad, because on the ads, people usually, there's something called banner blindness. People, they don't pay attention to what they see on ads. They actively try to block them out of their view. And they're, having to spend time mentally digesting what's on that ad. So if you are going to get someone's attention, it's going to be because they'll read 3 words And you're going to be lucky that they read those 3 words. But what we would try to do before is explain, what the benefit was and why it, does that. No, you just lead with what the benefit is. If the benefit's good enough, and you've done your job, and you have a product or service that you can, even if the product does well, you still got to find a way to sum up the benefit in 2 to 5 words for this ad. But if it's phrased right, that ad and that benefit will drive traffic to your site. Your site's going to do the selling of the product or service. All your ad's job is to drive the click. The more clicks you drive from the ad, the cheaper the cost per click is going to be. And the cheaper the cost per click, obviously, the higher the ROI is going to be. So stop package theft. If a person gives a shit about package theft, they're going to click on that ad because they're going to wonder how to get rid of package theft. And then when they get to this page and they can then now realize, oh, this is how, I'm going to get rid of package theft. This product gets rid of package theft. You get my point now. So that's the message, the 2 to 5 word message that you're going to use to sum up what your product or service delivers for that prospect is 2/3 of the ad, and then you have a small supporting image or icon or something, and then the logo. So that's the second main way that you're going to be able to, or iteration as to how to make a banner ad that's going to be profitable for you every time, assuming the targeting is set up right. Your third option, if you didn't go with your first option, which is where you have a product that's interesting and kind of sells itself, gets attention itself, or you did not have a way to sum up the benefit of the product or service in 2 to 5 words that would get people's attention at a high rate, you could go with a before and after results ad. Now on Facebook, they don't let you do before and after ads, generally speaking, because because it's too damn effective. They knew if you, like with weight loss, and Google to some little degree doesn't let you do before and after, like with weight loss itself. But for the most part, they let you. Whereas on Facebook, they don't let you basically at all. It's so effective, it's like ad crack. And so therefore, they don't let you do it on Facebook, but on Google, it's fair game with Google Display Network and the banner ads there. So what you can have is literally just, here's what your results, here's the guy before, here's the guy after they used our product. And you can show what the results are. Removing a mole or whatever it is. Ultimately, in this ad layout, all you have in this ad layout, if you're going to do this, is you have the logo in one small part of the ad, because you have to still do that for Google's requirements, and so that people know, who's behind the company before they click on the ad. You can't just have a photo on an ad and that's it. And then you have your before and after, or you have like a 1, 2, 3, like before, apply, and then the after. So you could do like a 1, 2, 3 like that, or just the before and after. But you get the general idea. You're showing physically through before and after, or through a time lapse, what it is that product is going to do for the person. So but you'll notice the second and third one here, if you will. What we're doing here is we're not selling a product or service. We're selling the end result. You probably heard this saying before, that people don't buy drills. They don't buy drill bits. They buy the hole in the wall that the drill drills. So if a good marketer / advertiser is going to sell the results, i.e. the hole in the wall that it will drill. If you're trying to sell the drill, all you're going to say is, this drill drills perfect holes in the wall, perfect edges, and you talk about how well it drills that hole. You don't talk about the horsepower of the drill or none of that shit. And so you sum up in 2 to 5 words what that product or service can do for the user, if you can, or you can physically show the before and after or time lapse of the product and the results it brings, because that is what's going to get the attention at the highest rate possible to get your ROI at the highest rate possible it can. Again, take it one more step backwards here. To make an effective banner ad campaign in general, there's 2 parts, like I was saying earlier in this video. There's the targeting, that you have to get the right get the ad in front of the right people, and not too many of the wrong people, because the more wrong people it gets in front of, even if it's in front of the right people too, the more you're cost per click is going to go up, and therefore the more your ROI is going to go down. So the targeting has to be right. It has to be in front of the right person, and the ad has to say something that right person gives a shit about to make sure that they actually respond to it at a high rate, because that is going to affect your click-through rate. So the person has to give a shit about what you have. The targeting has to be right so that you aren't paying too much to get in front of a person who cares, and then the ad has to actually say something the person cares about. And so with all that, you ultimately are trying to get in front of somebody that can actually be benefited by what you sell, and the person's going to have to say, why do I care about this, and why should I care about it right now? And if you can answer that question for the user, you've got something that will ultimately be set up to work. So I'm going to give you some different examples here of different headlines or different ads, basically these messaging on the ads that we put together to get the user's attention to the site at the highest rate we can. To build upon that final point I mentioned that I was making, and which I wanted to get across, but I kind of lost my train of thought here. The ad, and I touched on this a bit earlier, the ad is not set up to sell anything. The ad is to get across that you have something that can fix a problem for the user, and just to flag them down and get their attention. The ad does not explain how they're going to, your product or service basically at all, unless you're going to go for this first option here where you're showing up the product itself and it's apparent what the value is by looking at the product itself. But with the second and third option, which is mainly what most of you guys are going to have to use, it's just to get the user's attention enough to click on the ad. The landing page does all the selling. And with that, generally speaking, you need a landing page. Even if you're selling a product, sending them to a product page on your site, a default product page, is not going to be good enough for, at least for a banner ad campaign, to get it to work. You need a long form sales page to get this to work. And if you want to see what that takes to make that work, go to my site at guaranteeppc.com/landing pages, or just go to my site and then go to my landing page portfolio. You can see what a long form product sales page looks like, or a landing page for a service. There are plenty of examples there, but ultimately, you're getting their attention, basically lose 15 pounds in 30 days. Okay, I want that. You click on your ad, and then that takes into a page that explains a product that can do that. So all you're trying to do is, you're assuming the person you're putting the ad in front of wants to lose 15 pounds. And if you did the targeting right, they will. And if they do want that, and they want it enough, they're willing to click on that ad just to go see what is actually going to what offers that kind of promise. And then that's where your product page has to do the selling. So you're not, again, selling anything on the ad directly. You're just trying to flag a person down saying, you have a problem, we can fix it. And then the idea being, if you want to know how we can fix it, you need to go to the landing page. So that ultimately, because people aren't going to read too much on the ad, I've proven this time and time again, and did it the wrong way for a long time, they're not going to read a lot on the ad, but they will read 2 or 3 or 4 words that in that, you need to be able to spell out what your value proposition is in those few words, because that's all they're going to read. But if it is targeted right and you word it right, that's all you basically need to get their attention, okay? To give you an example of different messages that we put on the ad to flag a person down in that kind of regard, okay? And to go with this number 2 here, where you're offering them the 2 to 5 word phrase that tells them the kind of benefit or results we can get a person to flag them down like that, is as follows. Add up to 15 horsepower. So we sold auto parts before. We would have like cold air intakes and stuff for cars. Add up to 15 horsepower. What you're offering is not a cold air intake, it's offering 15 horsepower. And it had a little picture of a cold air intake next to it, but 2/3 of the ad is dedicated to add up to 15 horsepower. So if you want to know how it adds 15 horsepower, you have to click on the ad and go to a long form sales page talking about the technology and stuff. But that's the general example of a funnel banner ad campaign funnel to somebody who's never heard and seen of you before, that's going to get attention at a high rate, high enough to where you're going to be able to pay as little as 15 cents a click to your product, your long form sales page, from somebody who wants to get that kind of a benefit to get a chance at selling them. And obviously the banner ad gets you somebody at a cheap cost to go to your product page or your landing page, or basically your landing page is what actually sells them. So your ad just gets the highest click-through rate possible from somebody, and then the sales page or landing page does the rest. Your targeting makes sure that the people that you're driving to the product page are the right people. That's basically everything. Anyway, that's one example. So second example, stop package theft. I talked about this earlier. We have a client that sells a package theft prevention mailbox, a locking package box basically. And the main benefit of the product is it stops these porch pirates, from stealing your shit off your doorstep. So instead of talking about mailboxes and all that shit, stop package theft. We found out this ad worked better than any of the other ads because it was so simple, okay? Another example, cash for cancer patients. So there's an industry called the viatical industry, or a life insurance settlement industry, where you basically can, if you have a life insurance policy, there's a special industry within the life insurance settlement space where people sell their life insurance policies. The viatical space is within that life insurance settlement industry, where if you're terminally ill, you need cash, you could sell your life insurance policy before you die and get cash. So if you have cancer, you're going to die, you have stage 4 cancer, you're going to die in 6 months. You need money for your treatment now, and you're not going to need that money later, or it's useless to you later. You can go to these viatical settlement companies and they'll based upon their mathematical equations, figure out your likelihood to die and how much they can offer you, and then little less than what the policy's worth so they can get a profit on it. But what we knew is most of their client base, which I always ask, okay, who's the type of customers you buy? What are the types of customers that buy this? Most of them are people with stage 4 cancer, okay? So instead of going after people who are looking for viatical companies and viatical reviews and stuff like that, why don't we just run a banner ad for people that have stage 4 cancer and just say cash for cancer patients, or cash for stage 4 cancer patients. We didn't go that far with it, but you get the general idea. We're going in with the benefit. We're talking nothing about the service. And that worked very well. Another example, new disability tax credit. We had a service that they offered, they made people on disability aware that there was a tax credit available for people that are disabled, where they can help them refile their taxes and get a disability tax credit that they didn't know they were eligible before. And the fee for that is they obviously take a piece of the tax credit they help you get, basically. But basically that's the gist behind that business. And we found out in that space, talking about the disability tax credit service isn't the way to go. The better way to go is to show a picture of a tax refund check from the government, because everybody knows what that is already, and to say on the headline, new disability tax credit, indicating this is a new thing, even though it's not. And I've talked about on other videos on this channel, if you put the word new in front of your headline, that'll many times get your 20, 30, 40, 50% lift on your click-through rates. But anyway, with that said, new disability tax credit gets across that it's like, hey, I want a tax credit. I'm disabled. It's enough to get the user to the landing page where we can explain more. We don't get into, we offer a service to people who are disabled, you're already lost them. So anyway, that was an example of 4 headlines that, in terms of the second option here, where we do the short snappy phrase that on our ad to get the person's attention, how we executed that specifically. Like I said, in order to get a successful ad campaign going, you got to get the targeting right, but the ad also has to be able to explain to the user why should I click on this now, and why me specifically, why should I click on it, not just a person like me. And if your product or service is too dry, there's some other techniques you can make to make the message always seem like the person, when they see the ad, they're like, I'm glad I found this ad, because that's always your goal. Yeah, just because all your competitors have an ad that looks boring doesn't mean it works. Ads that work are an ad that when a person sees it, they like, holy shit. That holy shit is your goal with your ad and how you set it up. And of course, if we narrow our targeting more, we also know more about our prospect, so we can be even more relevant to the prospect, which is part of having a message that's going to make the person say, oh, holy shit, when they see your ad. So with that said, before we even narrow our targeting, there's ways to take a plain offer to make it interesting enough to be profitable. Let's say we had a custom song company that we work with that makes custom songs for people. Okay. One way to make this offer stand out here for a banner campaign was give custom songs for Christmas. So instead of, in other words, doing a banner ad that says custom songs for sale or custom song service, which if I'm not in market for a song, it's just, it's kind of a little bit, we could just simply tweak this and make it, basically infinitely more exciting if we say give custom song for Christmas, indicating I can give this as a Christmas present, and it gets me thinking, oh wow, that is actually a good idea. So part of just coming out with a good ad is just thinking about the customer. What does the customer need? Why do they buy? And help them figure out something they didn't figure out on their own. So that's one example how you can take a regular offer that's not that exciting and make it exciting enough to get a super high click-through rate, and so that you're going to get clicks for 10, 20 cents each, so where you have a much higher chance of making your campaign profitable. Okay, so you can you can link your offer, in other words, with the time of the year. The other thing you could do is you can tie your offer to a special, which is not really a secret that people do this. I see people doing this all the time, but an example would be we had a company who sold granite countertops installation, or granite countertop installation, for kitchen countertops and stuff. And we actually asked that customer, okay, you see a common theme to all this. I asked my clients, what are the type of people that buy? So instead of targeting everybody, we can target one use case of a specific type of customer and be a lot more relevant for that customer than we could speaking to everybody equally. And one of the top customers they have, of the people that are like a home run for the company, if they come in as a lead, is somebody who's getting the granite countertops installed in a new home that they're about or soon to move into. So with that information, we narrowed our targeting down. This is where we start getting into, you can narrow your targeting, and by narrowing your targeting, you now know something about the buyer you didn't know before, which means you can make your ad more relevant to the user, and then the ad becomes a holy shit ad versus who gives a shit ad. And so with that, we narrowed down to people who were looking for granite countertops on Google recently, and looking for new houses recently, and indicating to Google that they're going to be moving soon. So we know that they're looking specifically to move into a new house, and they're interested in granite countertops, which you can do that kind of thing with something called a custom intent audience on Google itself, on through Google Display Network. So if they haven't searched for granite countertop installation companies or services or whatever in the last 30 days, and they haven't been looking at new houses, and they haven't, according to Google, are getting ready to move, our ad won't show up for them. But because we did that, we now know we got a much, much more likely person to buy that we're getting in front of, which makes our campaign more profitable that way. But then also, we took the next step in making made the ad more relevant by saying something about, where we specifically said granite countertops new mover special, so they think when they see this, wow, yes, I'm going to be moving into a new house and I'm getting these granite countertops installed for our new house. I want the new mover special. So you can see how if you refine your targeting and take the 10,000 people you were targeting and go to just 1,000, but within that 1,000, now you know of the 1,000 that are left, why they're buying, you can take that, put it into the messaging on the ad, and make the ad messaging 10 times more powerful or potent. And that's the kind of way that you make a boring offer, interesting enough to be profitable. Okay? To get your click-through rates up so that your cost per click comes down to that 10 cent per click range. And if you could pay 10 cents per click and get your targeting fairly well set up, you're basically going to have a profitable campaign. So ultimately, if you can't make money on 10 cents a click in your market, and you're selling something that's worth more than like $50, then you got a problem. And that's kind of pretty much the gist. And the more expensive a product or service you have, the better it should work. Anyway, another way to do an offer, taking what you have and tying it to a special, would be to say, like, we had a company we worked in that had a golf, they sold golf clubs and golf supplies. We said 17% off drivers for Labor Day. So you could say 20% off for Halloween, or $50 off any order for 4th of July weekend. And so in other words, all you're doing is taking what you have, coming up with a discount, tying it to a specific time of the day or time of the year. So when users see the ad, they know, oh wow, if I don't click on this now, I'm not going to get it. But not only that, it's something that makes them say, why now? Not just why me, why now? And to tie all that together, we would target somebody who is recently looking for brand new golf drivers, which is where you hit the ball off the tee is using a driver. Somebody that was looking for a brand new golf driver to buy on Google in the recent past, and now because we know that information, and because Labor Day is coming up, we can have an ad that offers them a special incentive to buy a driver from us only for the next week, which makes our stuff stand out more than anybody else's. Oh wow, they're going to offer a driver? Well, I'm looking at a tailor-made driver, and if they're going to offer 17% off for the Labor Day weekend, I should click on this ad right now. So that's the kind of stuff you got to pull off to make display ads generally work well. But anyway, that's how to make the ad itself better if you have an everyday item that you can get anywhere. The next way you can make your message on your ad stand out if you have a boring offer is to use a guarantee. Lower your company expenses, guaranteed. So we had a company that did spend management, where they would come in, look at all your accounts payable, where you're, basically all the stuff you're spending your money on there at your company, the outgoing expenses, and they either try to renegotiate those contracts with those companies, or they find waste that they could just cut out anyway, stuff that you don't need basically, and then they would do it on contingency. So it's one thing to say we're our spend management service that works on contingency or whatever. It's too long. You've lost people after you've gotten to like the 5th or 6th word. So instead of that, if you're working on contingency, a much more powerful word is guaranteed. So we worked it out instead to where we packaged this up for a banner ad, lower your company expenses guaranteed. Everybody wants to lower their company expenses. Nobody wants to hire a spend management company. So it's like, yeah, I want to lower my company expenses. I'll click on this ad just to see how this is actually possible. And then that's where you get to your landing page. Your landing page these landing pages, you're only going to get, just like you only have like 2 seconds of their time to either see the ad and click on it or not, you only got like 10 seconds when they get to the landing page to capture their attention, or you're not going to sell shit to them. No matter what is said on the page. You got to, and ultimately good copywriters and good people that know how to make landing pages know how to capture users' attention in the headline. And then when they read because they're getting to the page, they're not going to be planning to stay on your page for 10 minutes. They read the headline and then they say, oh, that headline was good. It's good enough. I'm willing to read a little bit more. And then they read a little bit more. And then after they read a little bit more, they say, okay, that was pretty interesting. I'm willing to read a little bit more. And then they read a little bit more. And then they keep doing that over and over and over again to the point where they've gotten all the way through the page. And the longer you've kept them on the page, the more statistically likely they are to buy. That's just how it is. So anyway, that's how the whole funnel works in general. But anyway, you can come up with a guarantee or even a warranty. Red Wing boots, 5-year warranty. And if other people aren't offering that kind of warranty, that may be the one thing that makes it stand out. So anyway, you could go the guarantee/warranty angle. You could also go the bribe angle. The bribe angle is this. We had a mortgage broker. So they sell, home mortgages, and a home mortgage brokerage company. And this guy already had it before I came on board, or he hired us, hired my PPC firm, that he said he was so confident he could get them the lowest mortgage rate that he would offer them a gift card. So we actually packaged that information. That was perfect. Usually people don't have that kind of offer to work with by default, but we packaged that up, and we started using it in our advertising, in all of our advertising, Google search ads, everything. Ultimately, and we also put it into a banner ad campaign. Ultimately started advertising it in this local market there in Denver for everybody to get leads for people who want to refinance their mortgage. It's not such a hot market right now anymore, but it still works. With that said, and the other thing about that mortgage market is, if you're going to get a mortgage for your house, what do you care about? The rate, right? Pretty much everything else is irrelevant. So if you know 90% of the people in your market care about that one thing, and other things are basically it doesn't really compute that much into the person's overall decision to hire you or hire somebody else or do business with you or do business with somebody else. Figure out how to make that, do a loss aversion strategy with it, to the point where you could say that if you're looking for this one thing, I have it, and if you don't get this, I'll make sure you get something out of it. So no matter what, if you talk to me, you don't lose. I.e., we'll give you a free gift card if I can't get you the lowest price, or if I can't get you, your item within 4 days, or whatever. So anyway, this market. Going back to what I said before, you want to be able to, whatever the consumer wants, you want to package that up in like 2 to 5 words, and put that in the ad so you can flag someone's down, so you can get, in terms of the people you're got your ads showing to or narrow down to, you get as many people to click through your ad as possible. And so lowest mortgage rates or free gift card communicated beautifully what that market wants if they are going to get a mortgage. And obviously everybody wants to refinance their mortgage if they can get a lower rate. And we're not saying our rate will be lower than your rate, but if you are going to refinance your mortgage, we are going to have the lowest rate. Otherwise, we're going to make it worth your time by giving you a free gift card. That worked great. It worked great in the search ads. Anyway, so you could literally bribe them and say, obviously, best warranty or gift card. You could work this so many different ways. But get the general idea there. There's a different way to run a bribe, though, which is more of a direct bribe. There was a company that does CFO outsourcing. You want to hire a CFO, but usually you don't need, if you're a small company, you don't need a full-time CFO. You can hire one part-time through it's semi-staffing agency. And they would actually just offer a gift card to, they would even just get on LinkedIn and message people and say, hey, I'll give you a $15 gift card if I can get 15 minutes of your time. And they would get a lot of sales that way, which is really damn smart. This is the kind of outside-the-box thinking that gets you to grow quicker than anybody else in your market. Anyway, we started using that same thing in their other advertising, PPC advertising that we were doing for them, including banner ads that we were running. And we literally just packaged that up. $15 gift card for 15 minutes of your time. So, and we didn't even talk about what it is that we're selling. We just literally had that in an ad, and this works beautifully because you can narrow down your targeting with Google Display Network ads to the point where if you talk to the person, you could sell them. So whatever it takes to get them on the phone at that point, it's relevant. As long as we get them on the phone, it's good enough. So of course, you on the landing page explain a little bit more about what this is about. You're not getting on the call and we're going to be talking to you about some vulgar bullshit or whatever, scam or Ponzi scheme or whatever. But as far as the ad itself, we use the real estate of the ad to get across the main message, which is we're going to give you a $15 gift card for 15 minutes of your time. And of course, with that, like I said, you're still on the ad going to have, something relevant to, in this case, CFO, and then your logo. So it's not a totally what they call total blind ad, where all it would just literally say is $15 gift card for 15 minutes of your time. But practically speaking, 2/3 of the ad just focused on that exact message. Okay? And as on that same token, as far as the ad sizes, Google, if you're talking about Google Display Network, which most of you guys running banner ads are going to be doing that. You can run banner ads on programmatic ad networks out there. And if you're curious about that, I've got a great video on this channel about that. You can search it up. But Google Display Network is where 98% of our banner ads that we're going to run are on, because Google Display Network, you can target people so many different ways that unless we can't advertise on Google, we won't do anything on programmatic ad networks or Taboola or whatever. And there's different reasons for like going on Taboola and other than you can't, you're not allowed to advertise on Google Display Network, which I won't get into. But Google Display Network has like 30 plus different ad sizes now, including ads that almost take up half your page. So you don't always have to just work with this tiny little banner ad here anymore. You can work with the bigger banners. So in that case, if you have a message that can't be summed up in 4 words and it needs to be summed up in about 7 or 8 words, I would, and we know this works, I would do it and focus on the bigger ad sizes so that, because ultimately here's the crux of it. They're not going to only read so much, yes, but at the same time, the other reason why using few words works better is because the smaller font is harder to read and it doesn't capture your attention at the same rate. So if you have a big ad and you had to say 7 or 8 words, it's basically just as effective as having a small ad and say